What's up, hobby friends, and welcome to my vlog video for March, where I talk about what I painted in the previous month, what I've got planned for the coming month, and then in this final installment, I want to talk briefly about the last steps on my road to Adepticon journey. So my model count for this month is fairly low. I started Marathi Kane and the Shadow Queen on the tail end of January, and I think I wrapped her up in the first couple of days of February. So those two models basically completed my 1,000 points for the Adepticon team tournament, and I've been able to start playing practice games as part of our doubles pairings just to get some reps in with the army, get a feel for not just how the army plays, but various matchups and how to actually think through playing with Marathi. You would think being as powerful as she is, she would be a lot easier to play, but she only inhabits one part of the table, and it can be very easy to lock her down or shut her down. So it's been a bit of a struggle and a challenge learning how to determine where you want to send her, where to commit her, where to charge her. The faction I'm playing can retreat and charge, which does give me a bit of extra flexibility, but it's still been a very interesting journey to learn how to play her properly, especially because I've been so used to playing with armies that don't have really good fighting heroes. I've also painted a couple of Marvel Crisis Protocol models, both for myself as well as a commission for my client. So I painted Black Bolt just to clear off a model on the backlog and get a tutorial up on YouTube. And then I painted a Pyro for my client. And then I did 2 Agent Venoms and 2 Spider Women. So one for my client and one for myself. I'm not sure if he's bringing them to Adepticon, but I know that I am bringing both of them. So I wanted to make sure I got those done at the start of the month. And then I could actually dedicate the rest of February to working on my Path of the Worthy entry. Speaking of, pretty much the last 2.5, 3 weeks of the month of February was entirely focused on working on my contest entry. And I chose to make a new diorama specific for Path of the Worthy, largely because I ended up having this vision or this concept in my mind pretty early on for how I wanted to approach it, what I wanted to do for the contest, and in terms of execution, it was probably the clearest path I had to a unique entry. So I'm super happy I worked on that. I had budgeted about a week and a half to both the build and the paint, but a combination of a complexity of the actual build process and then how fiddly the model became in painting because of the elevation of the parts and the fact that Dr. Octopus's connection points aren't the sturdiest. It did end up adding a substantial amount of time to the actual work itself. So I ended up finishing it on the last day of February, which meant that even though I had originally budgeted to have everything done for Adepticon by the end of the month, I wasn't able to get to some critical parts, mainly the board for Age of Sigmar teams and the board for Marvel Crisis Protocol teams. Speaking of those, so what I've got planned for March, as well as the final steps of my path to Adepticon, are pretty much in congruency. What I'm working on for the entire month is going to be those 2 display boards, Age of Sigmar teams, as well as the Marvel Crisis Protocol teams. I also want to touch up Hulkbuster's base. I had painted up the smoke and the fire on the base originally, but I wasn't a huge fan of the way it turned out, and I think a little bit more saturation and just adding more vibrancy and intensity to that smoke and the fire will actually really sell the piece. So I want to spend a day or two just touching that up. And then my client wants a Gamora painted as well. I think he's bringing Guardians to Adepticon. So definitely want to spend at least a day or two working on that as well. So I think that'll pretty much take me all the way till March 22nd, when Adepticon's actually happening. We won't come back to the 26th, and I'm probably going to take a few days to decompress. So more than likely, that'll be the extent of my hobby. Or if I can get my boards done in advance earlier, I think I probably want to start working on a couple of projects, both for the content creation in April, but also to get a jump start on my army projects for the summer. So for content creation for this month, it's a 5-week month. So in addition to the vlog that's coming out that you're watching right now, I'm going to have a tutorial for Agent Venom, Spider-Woman, and Pyro. And then most likely I'll record a video once I come back from Adepticon, sort of recapping my experience of the event. Because I'm playing in front-to-back gaming events Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then on Sunday we're driving back, I'm probably not going to record too much B-roll content. I am playing in a couple of the organized play events on Thursday, but that's mainly in the middle. I think there's one at 11 and one at 2:30, and I have the rest of the morning and the afternoon free. So I'm definitely going to try and sneak in a demo of Shatterpoint. So I'll try and make some notes the day of, and then when I record my recap, I'll try and give my thoughts on that. I'll give my thoughts on the event, and then I'm definitely going to be walking around with my camera, so I'll take pictures of, in particular, the Path of the Worthy contest. And if I get a chance to swing by the Golden Demon booth, I'm not entering, but I'll snap some photos and give my thoughts on some of the entries that I see at the event as well. And then finally, the video tutorial that will go up on Patreon for the month of March is going to be for my Path of the Worthy contest entry. It's going to be in 3 parts, so I'll have a video specifically covering the build, one for the paint, and then I'll have a retrospective at the end where I just briefly talk about my experience of the project, right from the concept phase all the way through to execution, the challenges I faced, and then just a brief rundown of if I were to do the project again, what would I change, what would I do different, what might I improve. Because Adepticon does take almost a week on the end of March, and then depending on what I can get done, I think my content for April will be a little bit delayed, in particular on Patreon. So I'm going to try and paint Lord Croak as my Patreon tutorial for April. I'm just going to throw this out there in advance that chances are I won't finish it probably until mid-April. So the video will be a little delayed for that. And then I'm going to try and sneak in some extra Marvel Crisis Protocol models. So Gamora, Rhino, and then a few more Brotherhood that I'll probably pick up along the way and throw those in April as well. So that's pretty much it. That sums up my month for February, as well as a general roadmap for the month of March leading into April. I think one final thought as well from April onwards, I'm probably going to start pivoting away from Marvel Crisis Protocol. Yes, I'll be doing the Brotherhood, but for the most part, I've more or less worked through my backlog for my various affiliations. So I'll probably start to pivot more to doing more Age of Sigmar. I'll be slow building my Lizardmen up until the release in the summer. So I already picked up Croak, I've picked up Huanchi's Raiders, and I'll be picking up all the new kits as they come out. So my goal is to just take my time, build the army, so tutorials for those. And then Shatterpoint, I already pre-ordered. When it comes out, I think it's June is the release date. I'll definitely do a lot of tutorials for that game as well. So I don't think it'll be a nice change of pace. I think what I might try and do as I expand and build more terrain for my Marvel board is maybe I'll pivot and do tutorials for that instead of the miniatures. So I think that'll be fun. I don't really have a whole lot set in stone beyond April. So I'm sort of just brainstorming out loud now, but I'm looking forward to seeing what I can work on. That wraps up this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you give it a like and subscribe for more awesome weekly content. If you want to check out my other social media platforms, I'll make sure to have links in the video description below. And as always, until next time, happy hobbying.